July 1957, Crater Lake National Park, Oregon. 6-year-old Dennis Martin is camping with his family. It's a clear summer day. Dennis is playing hide-and-seek with other children near the campsite. His father watches from 100 feet away. Dennis runs behind a bush to hide. His father hears him giggle, then silence. When the father walks around the bush, Dennis is gone. Within minutes, the largest search in national park history begins. 600 searchers, helicopters, dogs. They search for 9 days. They find one small footprint, nothing else. Dennis Martin walked behind a bush and disappeared. He's never found. August 2013. Geraldine Largay is hiking the Appalachian Trail in Maine. She's 66, experienced hiker. She steps off the trail to use the bathroom. She gets turned around, can't find the trail. She has a cell phone, but there's no signal. She texts her husband, in some trouble, got off trail. The text doesn't send, no signal. She tries for 26 days to get a signal. She sets up camp, waits for rescue. She dies waiting. Her body is found 2 years later. Less than 3,000 feet from the trail. Searchers had passed within 100 yards of her camp. They never saw her. June 1969. 6 military pilots disappear in the Bermuda Triangle. Different flights, different days, all vanish without distress calls. No wreckage found, no bodies recovered. The ocean swallowed them whole. 3 people, 3 wild places, 3 disappearances where nature gave nothing back. Tonight we examine the wilderness that refuses to return what it takes. Let's begin with the 6-year-old who hid and was never found. Dennis Lloyd Martin was born in 1951 in Knoxville, Tennessee. He was the son of William and Lois Martin. By June 1957, Dennis was 6 years old, bright, active, loved the outdoors. On Saturday, June 14, 1957, the Martin family went camping at Spence Field in the Great Smoky Mountains National Park, which straddles the Tennessee-North Carolina border. They were joined by another family, the Martins' friends, and several other children. The weather was perfect, clear skies, temperatures in the 70s. The family set up camp in an open meadow area surrounded by dense forest. Around 4:30 p.m., Dennis and several other children were playing. The adults were nearby, setting up tents and preparing dinner. The children decided to play hide-and-seek. Dennis's father, William Martin, was approximately 100 to 150 feet away. He could see the children playing. He watched Dennis run toward a bush at the edge of the clearing to hide. William Martin heard Dennis giggle. The sound came from behind the bush. Then nothing. William continued setting up camp. He assumed Dennis was hiding well and the other children would find him. A few minutes passed. The other children couldn't find Dennis. They called for him. No response. William walked to the bush where he'd seen Dennis run. He looked behind it. Dennis wasn't there. William called Dennis's name. Loudly, no answer. He searched the immediate area. The other adults joined. They searched the meadow, the tree line, the nearby paths. No Dennis. By 5 p.m., 30 minutes after Dennis had run behind the bush, William Martin contacted park rangers. Dennis Martin was officially missing. Within hours, the largest search operation in National Park Service history was underway. The search for Dennis Martin involved over 600 searchers, park rangers, volunteers, military personnel, helicopters with infrared equipment, bloodhounds and tracking dogs, Green Berets from Fort Bragg. The military base was nearby and offered assistance. FBI agents, local law enforcement from Tennessee and North Carolina. The search area covered tens of thousands of acres of rugged mountain wilderness. The terrain was brutal, steep slopes, dense undergrowth, rocky outcroppings, streams, ravines. Searchers worked in shifts 24 hours a day. They called Dennis's name. They blew whistles. They searched with flashlights at night. On the second day of the search, trackers found a small footprint in mud near a creek about 5 miles from where Dennis disappeared. The footprint matched Dennis's shoe size. But no other trace was found. No clothing, no scent trail the dogs could follow reliably, nothing. Theories emerged quickly. Theory 1, Dennis got lost. He ran into the woods, became disoriented, and wandered deeper into the wilderness. At 6 years old, he wouldn't have survival skills. The nights were cold. He could have died from exposure within days. But searchers covered the area thoroughly. Bloodhounds should have found a scent trail. They didn't. Theory 2, animal attack. Black bears are common in the Smokies. Could a bear have attacked Dennis? Possibly. But bear attacks typically leave evidence. Blood, torn clothing, remains. Nothing was found. Theory 3, abduction. Some searchers reported seeing a disheveled man in the area around the time Dennis disappeared. The man was described as rough-looking and carrying a large bundle or sack. He was never identified. Could someone have grabbed Dennis from behind the bush in the seconds between when his father heard him giggle and when the other children arrived? It's possible, but the timeline is tight. And why would an abductor be in that specific remote location at that specific moment? Theory 4, feral humans. This is the most controversial theory. Some researchers and retired park rangers have suggested that feral humans, or wild men, live in the deep wilderness of national parks. People who have lived off-grid for so long they've become primitive. They allegedly avoid contact with civilization and occasionally take children. There's no verified evidence of this, but the theory persists in missing persons cases in national parks. The search ends. After 9 days of intensive searching, the operation was scaled back. Dennis Martin was presumed dead, though his body was never found. The Martin family was devastated. William Martin blamed himself for the rest of his life. He died in 2013, never knowing what happened to his son. Lois Martin, Dennis's mother, died in 2008, also without answers. What happened to Dennis Martin? We don't know. The official conclusion: Dennis got lost in the wilderness and died from exposure or injury. His small body was either scavenged by animals or buried under leaves and forest debris where searchers couldn't find it. But the case has troubling elements. The speed of his disappearance, seconds. The lack of any trace despite massive search efforts. The single footprint miles from the disappearance site. The reported sighting of the mysterious man. Dennis Martin's case is cited by David Paulides, author of the Missing 411 series, as one of hundreds of unexplained disappearances in national parks that share strange commonalities. Dennis Martin walked behind a bush to hide. His father heard him giggle, and he was never seen again. From a boy who hid in seconds to a woman who got lost in feet. Geraldine Jerry Largay was born in 1947. By August 2013, she was 66 years old, recently retired and fulfilling a lifelong dream, hiking the Appalachian Trail. The Appalachian Trail is a 2,190-mile footpath stretching from Georgia to Maine. Thousands attempt to thru-hike it each year, walking the entire length in one continuous journey. It takes most hikers 5 to 7 months. Jerry wasn't attempting a through hike. She was section hiking, completing portions over multiple trips. In 2013, she was hiking the main section with her husband George as her support crew. George would drive to trail access points and meet her every few days to resupply her with food and water. Jerry was an experienced hiker, but admitted she had a poor sense of direction. To compensate, she stayed on marked trails and was careful not to wander. On July 21, 2013, Jerry was hiking alone on a section of trail near Redington Township in western Maine. The trail in this section is well marked. It's not particularly difficult terrain. Around midday, Jerry needed to use the bathroom. She stepped off the trail into the woods for privacy, just a few feet, maybe 20 feet, 30 at most. When she finished, She tried to find her way back to the trail. She couldn't. The forest in Maine is dense. The undergrowth is thick. Without clear sightlines, it's easy to become disoriented. Jerry walked in what she thought was the direction of the trail. She was wrong. Within minutes, she was lost. Jerry had a cell phone. She tried to call for help. No signal. The Maine woods are remote. Cell coverage is sparse. She tried to text her husband. In some trouble, got off trail to go to the bathroom. The text didn't send. No signal. Jerry set up camp. She had her hiking gear, a tent, a sleeping bag, some food, and water purification tablets. She was equipped for overnight camping. She waited for rescue. She assumed searchers would find her quickly. The trail was nearby. She couldn't be far. She was right. She wasn't far. She was less than 3,000 feet from the Appalachian Trail. In dense forest, that might as well be miles. The search. When Jerry didn't arrive at the planned meetup point on July 24th, George Largay reported her missing. Maine game wardens launched a search operation. It was massive. Over 100 searchers. Dogs. Helicopters. Ground crews walking grid patterns through the forest. The search focused on the section of trail where Jerry was last known to be hiking. Searchers walked through the woods calling her name. Dogs tried to pick up her scent. At one point, searchers passed within 100 yards of where Jerry was camped. She never heard them. They never saw her. The Maine forest is thick. Visibility is limited. Sound doesn't carry well through dense vegetation. It's entirely possible for searchers to walk within shouting distance of a person and never make contact. After weeks of intensive searching, the operation was suspended. Jerry Largay was presumed dead. What Jerry did. We know what happened because Jerry kept a journal. She set up her tent in a small clearing. She rationed her food. She tried repeatedly to get a cell phone signal. She walked short distances trying to find the trail but always returned to her tent, afraid of getting even more lost. She wrote in her journal every day. She wrote messages to her family. She wrote about her thoughts, her fears, her hope that someone would find her. Her last journal entry was August 6, 2013, 16 days after she got lost. When you find my body, please call my husband George. Jerry Largay died alone in the Maine woods. The medical examiner later determined she died from exposure and starvation sometime in late August, approximately 26 days after she stepped off the trail. The discovery. Jerry's remains were found on October 14, 2015, more than 2 years after she disappeared. A surveyor doing land work stumbled upon her campsite. He found her tent still standing. Her remains were inside, along with her journal, her phone, and her gear. She had been 2,600 feet from the Appalachian Trail, a 15-minute walk in a straight line. But in dense forest without a clear landmark, she never found it. The journal. Jerry's journal revealed she tried everything. She tried to follow streams, conventional wilderness survival advice, but they didn't lead to trails. She tried to climb high ground for better visibility, couldn't get a view through the canopy. She tried signaling with her whistle, no one heard. She tried walking in systematic patterns, got disoriented and returned to her tent. She wrote about hearing helicopters overhead. She tried to signal them by waving her bright clothing. The forest canopy was too thick. They never saw her. She wrote messages to her family telling them she loved them. The questions. Why didn't Jerry build a large fire to signal searchers? Her journal suggests she was worried about starting a forest fire. Why didn't she keep walking in one direction until she hit a road or landmark? She was afraid of getting more lost. She thought staying put was safer. Both decisions were rational. Both decisions kept her from being found. The aftermath. George Largay was devastated. He'd been within miles of his wife for weeks during the search, not knowing she was so close. The Maine Warden Service reviewed their search procedures. They'd done everything right. The forest had simply hidden Jerry too well. Jerry Largay stepped 20 feet off a trail to use the bathroom. She couldn't find her way back. She died less than half a mile from where hikers walked every day. From a forest that hid a woman 3,000 feet from rescue, to an ocean that swallowed planes without a trace. December 5, 1945, Fort Lauderdale Naval Air Station, Florida. World War II has ended. The war in the Pacific concluded just months earlier with Japan's surrender. At 2:10 p.m., 5 TBM Avenger torpedo bombers take off on a routine training mission. The flight designation, Flight 19. The mission, a standard navigation exercise over the Atlantic Ocean and the Bahamas. The plan is simple: fly east from Fort Lauderdale to the Bahamas, drop practice bombs, turn north, turn west, return to base. Total flight time, approximately 2 hours. 14 men are aboard the 5 aircraft. Flight leader, Lieutenant Charles Taylor, experienced pilot, over 2,500 flight hours. 13 student pilots and crewmen. The weather is clear. Visibility is good. The aircraft are in perfect working order. This is a routine training flight that's been conducted hundreds of times. At 3:40 p.m., 90 minutes into the flight, the Fort Lauderdale Tower receives a strange radio transmission from Flight 19. Lieutenant Taylor's voice stressed, "Both my compasses are out. I'm trying to find Fort Lauderdale. I'm over land, but I don't know where." The tower is confused. Flight 19 should be over water, returning from the Bahamas. Why is Taylor over land? And how could both compasses fail simultaneously? The radio transmissions over the next 2 hours reveal increasing confusion and panic. 3:50 p.m. Taylor reports he believes they're over the Florida Keys. They're not. They're northeast of the Bahamas, over the Atlantic. 4:25 p.m. Another pilot in Flight 19 is heard saying, "If we just fly west, we'll hit Florida." Taylor overrules him. Taylor believes they're in the Gulf of Mexico and flying west would take them further from land. He orders the flight to turn northeast. This is a fatal error. They're actually over the Atlantic. Flying northeast takes them deeper into the ocean, away from land. 4:45 p.m. Taylor is heard saying, "We'll fly northeast for 45 minutes, then turn north. We should hit land." 5:15 p.m. Transmission quality degrades. Flight 19 is now too far from base for clear communication. 6:04 p.m. The last clear transmission from Flight 19 is received. Taylor's voice, "All planes close up tight. We'll have to ditch unless landfall. When the first plane drops below 10 gallons, we all go down together." After 6:04 p.m., silence. Flight 19 has vanished. The search. The Navy launches an immediate search and rescue operation. A PBM Mariner flying boat with a 13-man crew takes off from Banana River Naval Air Station to search for Flight 19. At 7:27 p.m., the Mariner radios its position. It's routine communication. Then the Mariner disappears too. No distress call, no wreckage, just gone. A ship in the area reports seeing an explosion in the sky at approximately 7:30 p.m. The explosion's location corresponds to the Mariner's last known position. The Mariner is presumed to have exploded in midair. PBM Mariners were nicknamed flying gas tanks because they leaked fuel vapors. A single spark could ignite them. But no wreckage is ever found. Now the Navy is searching for 6 aircraft and 27 men. The massive search. Over the next 5 days, the Navy and Coast Guard conduct one of the largest air-sea searches in history. Over 300 aircraft. Ships scouring hundreds of thousands of square miles. Searches covering the Atlantic, the Gulf of Mexico, the Caribbean. Land searches in Florida, the Bahamas, and surrounding islands. Not a single piece of wreckage is found. No life rafts, no bodies, no debris, nothing. The investigation. The Navy convened a board of inquiry. They reviewed radio transcripts, interviewed witnesses, and analyzed flight plans. The official conclusion: Lieutenant Taylor became disoriented. He believed he was over the Gulf of Mexico when he was actually over the Atlantic. He flew the flight northeast, away from land, until the planes ran out of fuel and ditched in the ocean. The Navy's report initially stated the cause as pilot error. Taylor's mother objected vehemently. She argued her son was an experienced pilot and wouldn't make such a fundamental mistake. Under pressure, the Navy amended the report to state the cause was causes or reasons unknown. The Bermuda Triangle. Flight 19's disappearance became the cornerstone of the Bermuda Triangle legend. The term Bermuda Triangle was coined in a 1964 magazine article and popularized in the 1970s. The Bermuda Triangle refers to a region of the western Atlantic Ocean roughly bounded by Miami, Bermuda, and Puerto Rico. Dozens of ships and aircraft have allegedly disappeared in the area under mysterious circumstances. Skeptics point out, the area is heavily traveled, so statistically, more accidents occur there. Many Bermuda Triangle disappearances have mundane explanations: storms, mechanical failure, human error. The Navy doesn't recognize the Bermuda Triangle as a real phenomenon. But Flight 19 remains troubling because 5 aircraft and 14 men vanished simultaneously. No wreckage was ever found despite exhaustive searches. The rescue aircraft also disappeared. Radio transmissions suggest the pilots were seeing something that disoriented them. What happened? The most likely explanation: Lieutenant Taylor became disoriented, possibly due to equipment malfunction or spatial disorientation, flew the planes out over the Atlantic, and they ditched when they ran out of fuel. The wreckage sank in deep water and was never located. The ocean is vast. Aircraft wreckage can sink quickly, especially in rough seas. Even large aircraft can disappear completely if they sink in deep enough water. But the complete absence of debris is unusual. Typically, something floats: seat cushions, life rafts, fuel slicks. Nothing from Flight 19 was ever found. As for the PBM Mariner, it likely exploded due to fuel vapor ignition. But again, no wreckage was found, which is unusual. The legacy. Flight 19's disappearance remains one of aviation's most famous unsolved mysteries. 14 men flew into clear skies over the Atlantic. They became confused. They flew the wrong direction. And they were never seen again. The ocean kept them. 3 people, 3 wilderness areas, 3 disappearances where nature gave nothing back. Dennis Martin ran behind a bush to hide. His father heard him giggle. Seconds later, he was gone. 600 searchers, 9 days, 1 footprint, no Dennis. Geraldine Largay stepped 20 feet off the Appalachian Trail. She died 26 days later, less than half a mile from where hikers walked every day. Searchers passed within 100 yards of her camp. They never saw her. Flight 19 flew into clear skies over the Atlantic. 5 planes, 14 men. They became disoriented, flew the wrong direction, and vanished. No wreckage, no bodies, no trace. 3 disappearances where nature took and never returned. Here's what connects them: proximity to rescue. Dennis was surrounded by hundreds of searchers. Jerry was 3,000 feet from a popular trail. Flight 19 had the entire Navy searching. None of it mattered. The wilderness doesn't care about search efforts. It doesn't care about resources or technology. It keeps what it takes. Dennis's case taught us children can vanish in seconds. Jerry's case taught us you can die within sight of rescue. Flight 19 taught us the ocean is unforgiving. Have you studied wilderness disappearances, hiked the Appalachian Trail, researched Flight 19? Drop your thoughts below. Share this with someone who loves the outdoors, but needs to respect how dangerous wilderness can be. Subscribe to WhisprFrame for more documented disappearances, where nature refused to give answers. Because the wilderness is beautiful, but it's not safe, and it doesn't always let you leave. Dennis is still out there somewhere. Jerry was found after 2 years. Flight 19 is still missing after 80 years. The wilderness keeps its secrets,